I'm excited to introduce a chess strategy that's sure to surprise your opponent. While most players aim for checkmate, this approach involves strategically targeting your opponent's queen. By employing this tactic, you can secure a substantial material advantage, setting the stage for a potential victory later in the game. But hold on, there's an added twist. Stay with me till the end for an engaging chess puzzle that will complete this unique experience. Begin with the move knight to f3. Usually, opponents respond with moves like pawn to e5 or pawn to d5 in different openings. However, in this case, capturing on e5 is not possible because you'll capture the pawn. The most common move from opponents is pawn to d5. Now, surprise them with the move pawn to e4, which may seem like a blunder. They might capture the pawn, thinking it's an opportunity. That's what most opponents would do. Now comes the crucial move, knight to g5. The aim is to regain the lost pawn by targeting their pawn on f7. Naturally, your opponent will develop their knight to defend the pawn. Respond with pawn to d3, attacking their pawn on d5 twice. Your opponent may be happy to trade pawns, thinking they have an extra pawn advantage. However, what they may find annoying is your knight on g5, which exerts pressure on their position, especially when combined with your bishop. To relieve the pressure, the top move for black in this position is often pawn to h6. Now, surprise them with the explosive move knight takes f7. This move instantly wins the game within a few moves. The knight not only forks the queen and the rook, but also forces black to capture it. This leads to a discovered attack with bishop to g6, checking the king while simultaneously winning the queen on the next move. This grants you a significant material advantage, setting you up for victory. This trap has been successful even against higher-rated opponents, making it a valuable tactic to employ. If you have any questions about alternate moves from black, I have a more detailed video analysis linked in the description below. Feel free to check it out. Now let's move on to fooling your opponent as black. Your opponent starts with the most popular move, pawn to e4. You respond with knight to c6, knight to f3, and bishop to c4. At this point, it's a good idea to start seriously assessing the position, pretending to think about your next move. After some consideration, you play knight to d4, seemingly intending to trade knights. However, your opponent will notice that this move actually loses the pawn on e5. Instead of trading knights, it appears more advantageous for white to win a pawn on f5, also attacking the pawn on f7. At this point, it's time for some acting skills. Shake your head and act confused. After a bit of contemplation, play the move queen to g5, seemingly out of desperation, hoping for counter chances. However, this move is actually a well-known trap. Queen to g5 double attacks the knight and the pawn on g2, causing problems for white. White is already in a difficult position and will likely lose the knight on f3. Despite losing a pawn, you gain a significant advantage. White may still be optimistic since capturing the pawn on f7 hits the queen and the rook, seemingly winning the pawn. However, you capture the pawn on g2, threatening queen to h1, which almost leads to checkmate, as your knight restricts their king's movement. At this point, you are clearly winning. If white plays rook to f1, for example, you respond with queen. Continuing from the previous moves, let's say you play queen to e4, delivering a check to the opponent's king. At this point, your opponent may realize that they are destined to lose because they have to give up their queen. If they play queen to e2, allowing you to capture their queen, it results in a decisive material advantage for you. However, if they play bishop to e2 instead, it leads to a humorous checkmate known as smothered mate, with knight to f3. Taking advantage of the pinned bishop and delivering checkmate in a clever manner. Now, let's dive into a puzzle. In this particular position, it's white's move, and your task is to discover the optimal move for white. Share your solutions in the comments section, and let's assess how many of you can crack it accurately. Additionally, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to stay tuned for upcoming videos. Take a brief moment to explore the other videos showcased on your screen. Thank you for watching, and I'm eagerly anticipating our next encounter. Take care and stay well.